Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town, episode 23. My name is Devin, but you can call me Gibby, and I'm here with Eric, who you can call Eric. Eric, say hello to the nice people, and then I'm going to have a follow-up question for you.
Hello to the nice people.
Okay, so I was recently reminded of this thing called fruit roll-ups. Have you ever experienced a fruit roll-up?
I have eaten them. I have
Have
sucked them up with my mouth.
Have you experienced the wide variety of fruity gummy candies? Gummy bears, gushers. I might even put like Starburst in that category, but I'm gonna go with even like fruit snacks. We're going with fruity gummy candies. Do you have
Yeah,
experience with these?
like Welch's and stuff like that.
Yeah, Scooby Doo gummies.
Sure, I'm not. I don't have a huge variety in them, but like, yeah,
Do you have, because everyone has very intense opinions on things like the best flavor of Gatorade, the best flavor of Ice Pops, the best flavor of, insert XYZ canonical colored candy flavors. Do you have a color flavor of that kind of gummy fruit thing that you prefer?
I mean, it depends on the thing, right? Because like Starbursts are so different from Welch's, which are so different from Skittles. So,
I don't know if I'd go as far as to include Skittles in this conversation. That might be a little outside the bounds of what we're talking about here. But I guess the question is like, okay, what's your favorite Starburst flavors then?
um, red and pink are top tier. Orange doesn't get enough credit. Yellow is a vibe. Yellow is also underappreciated, but it I hate to say it, but it deserves the
Ouch.
underappreciation.
Ouch.
Um, I think that's four colors. How many are there?
I'm not entirely
I think it's
sure.
just
I only have
four.
strong opinions about two of them.
Yeah, I mean red and pink are
So
the best.
to me, the clear winners are yellow and pink. Yellow and then pink.
Well, this is awkward.
Well, yeah, but it's not getting into the point of me bringing this up is that I know people who despise pink starburst. They're literally open it up like a blind pack,
What
and they get a pink one. They're like, I don't even want it.
I So normally I would not take such a stance, right? To be like, well, they're just objectively wrong. I think talk like that can be a little silly at times. However, the pink Starburst got so popular that Starburst has made their own Starburst packaging purely of pink Starburst. So, like,
I don't even know like what is that like fruit punch flavor, strawberry flavor. I don't even know what it is, but I know that I like the pink ones and I like the yellow ones.
I think it's like watermelon. I don't know.
Watermelon, that makes sense. So there are some people that I found who, going back to again gummy bears or fruit gushers, where there'll be like, I cannot stand the blue one, or I cannot stand the purple one.
Mhm.
Now I don't know if you know this, but the colors of candies are not always like the same, right? A lot of blue candy is raspberry flavored because raspberry is red, but red is always taken up by cherry, or sometimes apple, or sometimes watermelon, or sometimes strawberry. Raspberries are like fifth in line for a red colored candy, and so they just decided that that's what blue was. Blue is just raspberry.
Right?
Sometimes blue is blueberry, but as I was just saying, sometimes red can be any of those colors. More often than not, people are going to be like, okay, red is for cherry or apple. We'll give pink to your strawberries or your watermelons. Sometimes watermelon is green, but sometimes green is sour apple.
I'd say
Right?
green is
There's no
mostly sour apple.
there's no consistent flavor across brands and types of food for what the colors stand for, I guess is my overall point.
Yes.
Green can also be lime. So I know people who are like, "Oh, I don't like purple." I'd be like, "What do you mean you don't like purple?" They're like, "I don't like purple." I'm like, "Okay, purple Gatorade, purple Gushers, purple gummy bears, purple Skittles, purple ice pops, like purple, even red cherry, not a flavor. Purple, not a flavor. These things taste different depending on the thing you're eating, and I am flummoxed by the idea that this person ate. Again, let's go back to the Starburst. This person ate a pink Starburst, and they didn't like the flavor, and so now they're not going to eat a pink Skittle because they don't like the pink flavor. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense, Eric.
I mean, yeah, it's not like all brands and stuff are like the same flavors across the board, but like there is a certain amount of like cohesion. Like, red is never going to be green apple flavor, right?
I
So,
guess.
if they've just eaten in this instance all purple things and they're just like, I don't like the spectrum of purple between all these fruit foods and brands of them that use the color purple, then like it's possible, I suppose. But I mean, yeah, it's a little whack to be like, is it this color? I'm not eating it.
So apparently pink is strawberry. So there is this like medicine that like you take sometimes that I had like took as a kid, and it's like, oh, it's the red liquid medicine, and it's like supposed to taste like cherry, but it doesn't, and it's just like the red medicine. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
First of all, I knew someone as a kid who actually enjoyed the flavor of that medicine. So that's
That's me.
unsettling. You did? You did too?
Medicine tastes great.
Oh my god. Now we need to talk about this. What are you
One
talking
of my
about?
favorite alcoholic drinks is called a purple punch, and it was made at some place, and it legitimately tastes like purple medicine. And I was with two friends at the table. They hated it because it reminded them how much closeness it was to the medicine, and I just loved it so much. It tasted so good.
Wow, okay, you're now the second person I've ever met who has said like, "Oh my god, yum, red liquid medicine to cold time."
Yes.
Um, huh. That's crazy. I don't know how I feel about that. Just because I always thought that was some of the most disgusting stuff in the world. Part of it may have been that my mom was like, "Hey, this is cherry." I was like, "Oh my god, cherry flavored," and then you drink it and it's not. It's not. It's like a lie.
Yeah, I don't think my parents were like, "Oh, drink it, it's cherry." They were just like, "Are you sick? You need to ingest this." I
Hmm.
went, "Okay." So I didn't have any like false ideas about the taste of it. It was just like, if X, then Y.
So the tangent I was like leading us down the avenue of thought
Right. So
was
sorry.
I know what
Now I've messed it up even more. Continue on your tangent.
I was just gonna say. I know people who had to take that medicine as kids, right? Like here's the red medicine. So now, as adults, they don't like actual cherry flavor. You hand them red Gatorade, and they can't stomach it because it reminds them of the disgusting tasting
Oh
medicine.
my goodness, man. It's not
When
that
obviously they
deep.
taste nothing alike. No, but it is.
Nah, disagree. It is not that deep.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. Maybe if you threw up on it, that's one thing. But if you just had to take the red medicine and you never had that bad of an experience of it, it was just kind of yucky, and now 10 years later or whatever, you're like, I can't drink a red Gatorade. Like, that's kind of wild to me.
It's maximum yucky, actually.
Nah. Well, so riddle me this, and I can only ask you because you're the only one here. When
Mm-hmm.
you're sick, right? Do you like do you eat like a grilled cheese? Do you have like uh orange juice, or like is there something you routinely eat or drink when you're sick or as a child?
No.
Oh, well, that's
If
weird.
if I well, what when I had COVID a couple times, I ate ice cream because my throat was killing me.
Mm.
But no, I don't. What?
Well, so my
Do you have sick food? Like what?
well, first of all, yes, but the point I was gonna lean into is, do you associate with your sick food or drink with the like, do you associate it with those are bad because you only have them when you're sick and that's when you feel bad and you're like, ugh? Or do you associate it with the feeling of like good because you're getting better by consuming these things and it's helping you?
I have no associations one way or the other. I do not associate eating ice cream with COVID.
Wild.
Hmm.
So like
I
for
guess like people will have, I don't know, like tomato soup if they have a cold. Like that's a thing, right?
well, yeah, so you have ginger ale for upset stomachs. You
No, that's
have,
fake. Don't do that.
if you're nauseous, it's fine.
It's fake. It's a wives' tale. It doesn't work.
Okay, well, I
Ginger
agree.
helps. Ginger ale doesn't have ginger in it to soothe your stomach, and the sugar in ginger ale is going to make your upset stomach worse. Do not drink ginger ale when you're sick.
You could just buy better ginger ale. I'm sure there's ginger
There is
ale
no.
that's made with real ginger.
Well, it doesn't need to be ale then. Just drink regular like ginger water. If it's carbonated and sugary, it's gonna hurt your stomach.
I listen, as someone who, when sick, drank ginger ale,
Placebos themselves, I
dry
agree.
toast, maybe with butter, and then grilled cheese when I felt better from being sick. They all worked.
Okay, I think that your body just healed itself and you munched on some toast.
Well, that's the association, right? Like, had I thrown up after eating those things, I would go, "Oh no, these are bad foods. I hate them. I'm never gonna eat them again."
Hmm.
But I didn't, and I did get better. So now they're good things. So, you know.
So I guess. Do you? I, I guess we can start talking about a different topic unless you have a last thing to say on the colors of fruit candies.
Purple and blue are S tier, red is A tier, orange is B tier, yellow is C tier, but you need yellows every once in a while so you can appreciate the higher ups. Mystery flavors, I'm gonna say, are like a D tier because they just never,
Mm-hmm.
like, haha, it's a mystery, and then it's just never, it's never great.
But you know what mystery flavor is most of the time, right?
Coconut.
No, what? No. It's all of the like the leftovers of whatever they have on the wine mixed
No,
together. Yeah.
no,
Yeah. So it could be like half strawberry, quarter apple, quarter lemon if that's like what was
disagree.
left over. No, that's how it works. But you think
No,
coconut because the airhead mystery flavor is white? Like
I don't. But the mystery flavor has like a consistent taste.
no. The flavor is created by keeping the assembly line running between batches of different flavors, which causes the new and old flavors to combine. This is a cost-saving move that eliminates the need to stop the line and clean the equipment.
What?
That's from the Airhead website. Mystery Airhead is just 2 of the candies combined.
But what about, like, Gatorade?
White Gatorade is... There's no mystery flavor Gatorade. What?
Yes, there is.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
I don't think so. There's white Gatorade. Let me look this up.
There's definitely white Gatorade, which is maybe what I'm thinking about.
Gatorade mystery flavor thirst quencher limited edition.
Aha.
Okay, so it existed at one point. Reddit says raspberry lemonade, so still not coconut.
I mean, you know.
Interesting. But yeah, okay, I guess I was more talking about the Airhead thing.
Sure.
Still not coconut, though.
Sure.
So no, there is not, in fact, one standard mystery flavor company. Company. Wow. What am I saying? Flavor.
Mm.
So that's your ranking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you agree, disagree?
Strong disagree. I think purple's at the top. I put blue into C tier. I think it's like
Bruh.
purple alone in S. I'll put red if it's cherry in A, along with yellow, lemon. I'll put red if it's like apples or strawberries or whatever into C. Green apples last if it exists. And then orange is probably in C or D.
Bruh. Disagree.
Oh, and black licorice, disgusting. One of the
Oh,
worst
I
things in
mean,
the world. Oh my god.
yeah, like, does that even need to be brought up?
Some people like it. My father likes it.
Wow.
Also, black licorice, root beer, same flavor. Root beer, also disgusting. I rest my
No.
case. Yep.
But root beer is good.
Root beer is disgusting. We had this conversation already. Okay, let's move on to something else.
I could talk about condiments.
Let's get off of our topic of food that we somehow always
You brought this up, and I was like,
I did.
But no, but it was funny because I had on my list, on my sheet of paper, condiments, and I was like,
okay.
No, I won't bring that up. We'll talk about food again.
Okay, no, let's do condiments. Let's see how long this lasts. Ready? You go first.
Barbecue sauce. Amazing. Beautiful. Right. We love it. The rest suck.
Okay. I've never had any of those. Ketchup and mayonnaise, the thought of them makes me nauseous and want to vomit. I have never had anything else. No barbecues, no honey mustards, no buffalo sauce. Nothing. They're disgusting. I can't stand them.
It's kind of
ranch. Mayonnaise, ketchup, make me want to vomit.
I don't know.
Can't stand them.
Ranch is a condiment. It's a salad dressing. I guess it's also a condiment.
People dip their French fries and their chicken fingers into ranch, so.
I guess so.
Like, when I was working and I had to, like, we take this giant 3-gallon bag of ketchup and portion it into 2-ounce cups. Like, I tried it probably 3 or 4 times. Like, I tried portioning it, and I just couldn't.
Oh, I remember doing that. It was so easy. It was like, what's that? You need me to kill half an hour? Yeah, okay. I'll do this.
Yeah, squirt some ketchup. But no, the smell would get to me, and I just couldn't do it. Like, it literally made me gag.
Why have you never had, like, barbecue sauce or mustard?
Because they smell terrible.
Barbecue sauce doesn't smell terrible.
Oh, yes, it does.
Bruh. Whack.
I've never in my life had something that smelled bad and then tasted it and been like, oh, that actually tastes good. It was just the smell that's bad. No, that doesn't exist. That's not real. That's stupid.
Yeah, I've done that.
I have not. That's dumb and bad. So barbecue sauce, one of the main ingredients is ketchup. So like, I don't know what you're doing here.
But just because it's a main ingredient doesn't mean you taste it, you know?
Oh my god. I think the reason I don't like ketchup is vinegar. Like the part of it, like the main one of the main ingredients is the vinegar. I think that's one of the reasons I don't like it. So that being present will make me not enjoy it.
Mm. Well, good condiment talk, I guess.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. I'm like, I don't eat those. The end.
Dang. All right, what else you got? Or what else do I got?
Yeah, what else do you got?
Okay, I'm gonna take us back into the world of musicals.
Okay, hit me.
Have you ever listened to an entire musical album on, I don't know, Spotify or YouTube or, a listening platform? Like not in show. Like the first time you hear the entire thing, or all of the songs rather, it's, on a playback thingy.
Let me tell you about that. Let me tell you about my experiences with that. No.
Okay, fabulous. Great, amazing. So I listened to the entire album of Waitress, the original Broadway album. And because you have never done this, allow me to fill you in on what happens. You're only listening to the songs, okay? So when you decide, I've seen this Waitress musical going around, but I've never listened to it. I'll listen to it now. I have nothing else going on, and I'll just listen to it throughout the course of my day. You miss a lot of cues because you're not watching the full show,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, a song will happen, then another song will happen that'll focus on the B plot, then it'll cut back to the A plot, and then in between those like two or three songs, you're like two characters that hated each other are now like amicable and talking to each other, and you're like, I don't know what happened. I missed something that happened on the stage, but we're just gonna roll with this, I guess.
Yeah, it's because the songs aren't, unless it's like Hamilton, there's
Yeah,
important plot beats that happen between the songs. It's like if like some video games, like I'm just gonna watch the cutscenes. I don't understand what's happening. Well, yeah, because the story unfolds in other manners.
right. But I mean, I guess I had a few options of like watching it, seeing if it was like on YouTube or something, like a recording of it, or getting Broadway tickets, or just listening to the album on Spotify. So this is what I did, and
Okay, okay.
boy, it was kind of wild. Do you know the premise to the Waitress musical?
I have never heard of it once in my life before this conversation.
Wow, shame on you.
Hmm.
So Waitress is a musical about a waitress
No.
and I don't know, like the Midwest, the South, um, of America, and she works at a like diner-esque establishment, and she makes all the pies for the diner, and her pies are the best. And then like the first song of the album is, I guess, spoilers for Waitress. The first
Wow.
song is about how she might be pregnant because she got drunk and had sex with her abusive husband. And this is bad if she's pregnant. And then she is pregnant. And that's the first song. So then it follows this through line of her not knowing what to do with her life, because she doesn't know if she what to do with the baby, and she doesn't know how it'll affect her marriage, and she doesn't really want to be married, and she has an affair with her doctor. Meanwhile, the B plot is just like a young couple falling in love, and it's like, wow, this is a change of pace and kind of sweet. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was a wild time. But so some of the things that happened were like, I don't know, the abusive husband goes to uh, strike the main character, our waitress, and to avoid that, she says, but I'm pregnant. And that's how he learns about it. So then he jumps into a song about how she can never love the baby more than him. And she's like, well, okay, I'm stuck here in this darn here relationship. And she eventually comes to the conclusion that like she should file for divorce, but then she would need money to file for divorce. And there's a pie baking contest where the grand prize is $20,000. So she wins that pie baking contest, but then the husband finds out, takes all of the money, and runs away, but
What?
doesn't divorce her. And the owner of the shop dies at the end and gives the diner to the waitress, and now she owns it. So then after 5 years, she has enough money to file for divorce, and the baby is born. And a lot of that I had to Google. A lot of the songs were just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is the right course of action. I don't know, if I should be having this affair with my doctor. And then the song before she goes into labor, she's like, it doesn't matter who I have been in my life because all that will matter is me as a mother to this baby. And then there's like a weird instrumental beat where she's giving birth to the baby. And I believe the last song is the song after that, I believe, is the last song, which is like the, closing song of like, and we own this diner now and everything's fine 5 years later. And I couldn't know so much of that. I had to pick up on context clues from songs, and then I would go, what happened here? I don't understand. But Wikipedia exists, so.
So, do you find that it was a fulfilling experience to get pieces of the story through song, which is already a medium that is kind of, I'm going to say, requires interpretation,
Uh-huh.
um, and get bits and pieces throughout the narrative of different stories? There's no visual component to the songs because it's not like you're watching like the dancing or the sets or the faces of the characters.
Right.
Um, that it jumps around in the narrative, and then to afterwards go back and read what was happening. Do you find that that was a enjoyable experience?
Yeah. I like being a little detective and figuring out what happens or trying to. Some of it I never would have seen coming. I don't. So like the B plot with the young people falling in love and stuff. There's one song that the lady sings about how like basically she's scared of falling in love, and like the emotional damage that can occur from getting into a relationship. The second song is about this guy who sings about how he's very persistent in his life and he's never going to leave her. And she's like kind of into it. She's kind of not, again, because she's afraid of falling in love. And then the third song and the last song in the B plot is about how they're getting married. and, and I was like, okay, I can see I'm just not gonna like obviously something happened, but I just won't know. Turns out they both have a love for reenacting the Revolutionary War or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I like was I ever gonna
Good for
get that?
them.
No.
I'm glad they
um
found each other.
yeah, right? It's cute like that. Uh and then but like some of this stuff like right with the A plot with like Yeah, so when the main waitress has an affair with her doctor, it then cuts to a song sung by a different waitress about her being caught as well of having an affair, and because the main waitress like found out, she like literally like walked in on it, and she's like, "What?" And this other waitress is like, you're no better than me. I know what you did too." Um, so like certain things you can piece together from the songs, and you're like, okay, there's enough here that I can generally figure out the flow and the vibes.
I was just gonna say, if you like looking at non consecutive pieces of abstract representations of story beats and then going back later to try to uncover the pieces of the narrative that you missed, you should try Five Nights at Freddy's.
But then I have to play Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's the best part, Eric, is you, just like most of the community, no you don't.
What?
Like, I would say 90% of the fandom, you don't need to play the games.
How do you just watch lore videos?
You just watch Markiplier play them, and then you watch MatPat explain them, and then you get extremely invested, and then you threaten people's lives and tell them to kill themselves if they disagree with your interpretation of what's going on.
That's intense.
Yes, it is. It's extremely intense. I've said this before. Of the two categories of things that my YouTube channels cover, the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom is significantly more hostile than the other one.
Hmm. You know, not to bash. That's not what I'm here for. But I've used to watch Markiplier videos, and I got a few months into them, and I just had to stop.
Why? He's Markiplier is literally the only Let's Player I can watch for a long period of time. I didn't watch PewDiePie back when he was a Let's Player and was just screaming. I think Game Grumps is awful and like I cannot stand them. I don't like Jacksepticeye. I don't like any of the other people.
Yeah, I also watched Game Grumps for a bit, and like fell off. It was like, eh. I also just fell off of watching Let's Plays in general because shrug. But with
It is, yes.
Markiplier, I was just like, I I think he is also just very yelly and like doesn't do now. I say this as someone who watched his stuff back, 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, literally for me 10 years ago, like 2014.
So I'm he's obviously very proficient at what he does. I'm not here trying to bash. It's just not to my taste. Um, I do have one specific instance. I remember the nail in the coffin, but it feels so petty to
Oh.
talk about it.
Talk about it. Be petty.
He was playing the game Firewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this? The walking
I
simulator-esque
I
game.
have heard multiple people and watched multiple video essays going through why it's one of the worst video games ever made.
LOL. So he was playing that, and it had gotten to the climax, right? Where, spoilers for Firewatch, like, oh no, a fire broke out. Quick, you gotta run to safety. And over the course of the Let's Play, he had, like, befriended this, like, cardboard cutout of, like, a Smokey the Bear-esque thing. And so there's all this music, the climax is happening, you have to run to this location, and you'll be safe. And he spent like, I don't know, 10 minutes of just looking for this cardboard cutout instead of like going and progressing the game. And I was like, no, thank you. I'm not
See,
watching anymore after this playthrough.
when you have a terrible game like that, you kind of have to make your own fun and like make up your own narrative to understand, like to engage yourself with what's going on.
Sure.
I think when we were playing through Life is Strange, right? In the beginning, we had a lot of like oh, let's rewind and watch the football hit that person in the head 17 times because it's funny. And then as you get to the end, as we actually started enjoying ourselves and realizing what a masterpiece that game is, we took the serious moments a lot more seriously.
Hmm.
Whereas, again, haven't played it myself, but people seem to seriously hate Firewatch. And so the idea that he didn't take it seriously the whole way through is not surprising to me.
It didn't even upset me that like he didn't take it seriously the whole way through, but it's literally like you are at the climax and like the climax is waiting for you and you're just like, nah, I'm just gonna walk around for 10 minutes. Like that's
Well, yeah,
just
it seems funny. You're laughing about it.
no, I'm laughing
Ten,
in
10
with
years later, you're
hindsight
still
because it's
you're
so
still laughing about this Markiplier joke from 10 years ago. What a
no, but
genius.
I'm not happy about it. I laugh to
Listen,
cope.
all comedy is tragedy plus time.
I mean, but that was the nail in the coffin that turned me off. I was also already like kind of on the fence because I was like, it's so loud. I don't like the screaming and the oh my gosh. I'm sure there are some people that do it well. Uh, but oof. Anyway, that was my experience with Markiplier.
That was your experience with Markiplier. I definitely found a lot more entertainment in him playing horror games, specifically because like they usually don't have that big of a narrative. Whether it's like FNAF or it's like I don't know, what's that jump scare game that's not FNAF, the other ones?
Poppy's Playhouse.
No, I'm going back 10 years. Uh what's the game with the candles?
Slenderman?
No, the game with the candles, the scary game with the candles. Amnesia.
There you go.
There we go. I got it. I
Jeez.
found it 10 years ago. It's like I'm never gonna play this. I don't really care about the story. It's just funny, and I can see what's the game's about while also being entertained on the side. Right? For our generation, for people our age, that's the equivalent of watching a TikTok with Subway Surfers in the corner. Right? It's like while you're waiting for them to get to the point, you can also
Yeah.
watch this other thing. While I'm waiting
I
for the game to get
guess.
to the point, I'm also listening to Markiplier tell a story.
Sure.
So I guess I'm wondering is do you consume horror content in any way beyond watching video game let's plays?
Horror content. I mean, I horror
This was supposed to be
content.
the easiest segue of your life.
Horror content. Oh, well, so it wasn't horror is the thing. It well, it wasn't pitched as horror. I got okay. Hear me out. I might
Okay,
be.
hearing.
You might not be able to hear it, but I am tired because I stayed up until 4 a.m. because I was on YouTube because they have their hooks into me
Mhm.
watching a YouTube short, and it was like, "Hey, you should check out this manga called." I mean, it has an absurdly long title, as a lot of them do. But
That
it's
time I turned into a werewolf and then ran through the woods and howled, but it wasn't actually horror. It wasn't pitched that way. It was just a book and I pronounced it manga. The manga.
yeah. So it's like
Okay.
the sobbing clerk I helped from the convenience store robbery is in fact my classmate, or something like that. And it's pitched as a rom-com, and it's about this. I mean, spoilers for this. I'm going
I
to.
think the title just spoiled it enough.
Oh
Yeah, no,
no,
yeah.
no, it didn't. There's so many left set field plays. Um, Also, it talks quite a bit about death and suicide and stuff. So if you don't like that, tap out for a bit.
We'll
Uh,
put a content warning in the description.
so the main character of this story is a high school boy. His family, his entire family except him, died in a tragic car accident, and his childhood best friend he was like, I don't know, 6 or whatever, right? And his childhood best friend, who was also 6, like they took care of each other. Mostly the childhood friend taking care of him because he was traumatized because his family died in front of his face. And he, 10 years later, whatever, they're like 16, 17 in high school. And he's like, my childhood best friend has like helped me through all these hard times, and I don't have a family anymore, and I really want to have my own family so I can have what I lost, and I can't imagine my life without her, so I'm gonna ask her out. And so he confesses to her, and she rejects him and is like, nah,
Oh,
fam, you're a childhood friend.
oh no.
And he's like, okay, I don't have my own family. The person I was hoping to make a family with, rejected me. So I'm going to kill myself and go to these, special place out in the mountains, where my family and I used to spend a lot of time. So he takes the train all the way out there, and as he's headed there, he sees a robbery happening at a convenience store. And he thinks, well, I'm going to like try to kill myself from this. Like, I might as well try and stop this robbery and like do one last good deed on earth before I go. And he goes up to the robber and he's like, hey, you should stop that. And the robber's like, what are you talking about? And he has a knife. And the kid is like, I'm just saying, this is bad. You're a bad person. But if you stop now, like, at least you wouldn't have hurt anyone. And the robber's like, don't you skid it, you fool. I'm trying to hurt people. And the kid's like, then kill me. And the robber's like, what? And he's like, well, just kill me then. Like, I'm so done with life. Just end it for me here. And the robber gets so freaked out by that he just runs away. The cops are called. They arrest him. And the clerk is like runs up to the guy and she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You saved my life." And like, that was super cool of you. And wait a minute, you're actually in my class and we're classmates. And oh my gosh. And then she's like, "Well, thanks a lot, and that was super cool of you." And he was like, "Yeah, I guess." And she's like, "I really thought I was gonna die, and the fact that you saved me, and now I get to live, and like, that's crazy." Like, and he's like, "Yeah, I was planning on killing myself, so this worked out, I guess." And she was like, "You shouldn't kill yourself. Think of all the life you have left and stuff." And he goes, "Wow, you're right. You've cured me of my suicidal thoughts." And he goes, "But I took the last train here, and I only have 5 yen, so I can't get back home because I live 3 hours away because I was going to go to this special spot to go and end my life." And the girl goes, "Well, I have a stalker problem. So if you come with me to my house that's close by, then we can, help each other out." So they agree. And that is the first chapter.
I'm guessing that they fall in love.
Yes. So I don't want this to get too rambly. Maybe you want to read it for yourself. I don't know if I would entirely recommend that. It kind of felt like I was on drugs when I was reading it. It cuts to so many different things, and the pace is so fast that like it's wild. But I can't spend every chapter. There's a different twist, right? So like they start living together, and it's everything's super cool. But then the childhood friend sees that and gets jealous, and so she starts stalking them. And then you're like, oh, maybe this is the stalker because like, now she's stalking them and it really hasn't gotten brought up, so like whatever. And then the childhood friend realizes that she does love the main character boy, and she's like, I need to go be in a relationship with him. And the main character is like, well, I'm living my best life with this new girl. And but my childhood friend, that's who I always thought about having a family with. And so uh they like almost get back together, but not quite, because the after a few days of this, the real stalker shows up at the convenience store clerk's girl's house and tries to assault her. And the main character comes in and punches him and then continues to punch him to the point where the girl has to stop him and is like, you're about to kill a man. I don't want you to become a murderer for me. And he's like, are you sure though? She goes, yeah. And he's like, okay. So they call the cops and he gets sent away. And then uh they, as an attempt to bond, because the girl feels her life has now been saved twice by this boy, like she feels they should get to an even deeper emotional level so that they can like further understand each other, where she starts to talk about her family, and then she like passes out and starts screaming uncontrollably. So her cousin comes in and is like, don't worry, I'll take care of her. And then she does, and then it's explained that she has a tendency to overwrite her memories because of traumatic past events, and she has no idea what like her middle school life was like because something really bad happened in it, and she's just not in the condition to be a person for now. So with that knowledge, the main character is like, okay, that sounds like a lot, but it sounds like you have it handled, but it sounds like I shouldn't be able to like date her or anything because we're trying to get a deeper emotional level together by sharing our past with each other, and we both have traumatic past events. So I guess it would be best for both of us if I didn't date her and I dated my childhood friend. So then they start dating. They start doing activities that the guy and the convenience store clerk used to do, and that guy can't get the thoughts of her out of his mind. And he's like, I don't know if this is right or not because I've always thought about imagining a life with you, my childhood friend, but like I was really happy with convenience store girl clerk. So I don't know what I should do. Should we try to work through our trauma together so we can overcome that and be a couple? Or like, should I just settle with you? And the childhood friend goes, well, it sounds like you should go try and work on that traumatic things with the convenience store clerk girl because I want to prioritize in my life your happiness. And if you're not going to be really happy by dating me, but you will be by dating her, then like, I guess I can accept that. And he goes, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for being cool about this. And then leaves her and goes to the convenience store clerk's house, girls. And then she's not there. And then he has to talk to her best friend at school. And then she reveals that, like, she
She
hasn't been
killed
to
herself.
school in a few days, not dead yet. Sorry, I think I just hit the
Okay.
mic.
Okay. Sad.
But she hasn't been in school for a few days, and she must have moved out to the countryside. And it's summer break, thankfully. So, like, or no, summer break ended. And we have to go to the countryside so we can like get her from stopping quitting school. So they go out to the countryside, and the convenience store girls clerk best friend is like, hey, I'm gonna be your wingman on this trip. I think you guys were a cute couple and like you really made her happy, so I'm gonna do everything I can to support you. And he's like, cool, good to know. Appreciate that. Thank you. They go to the countryside. The convenience store clerk has like her like she seems different because now, in addition to overwriting her past traumatic events from middle school, she erased the traumatic events from high school, from all these things that happened in such a short amount of time with this guy. So now she doesn't remember him, but he remembers her and everything that happened. So now he doesn't know what to do. And the best friend girl is like, hey man, just ask her out again. It'll be fine. If you won her one time, you can just be in a relationship with her another time again. And he's like, wow, you're so true and real for that. So then he tries to do that, but he messes up at almost every single point because he keeps doing things that he knows the convenience store girl clerk would like, but she to him he's just like a guy from her class. And so like it's weird that he's like touching her cheek or whatever, because why is he doing this? He should, what? So then she runs away to her room. He reports back to best friend girl that like he messed up, and she's like, yeah, you kind of did. You can't be that fast. Like you have to keep in mind she doesn't remember you and like your relationship and all this stuff. So then they just start hanging out in general, and he takes it at a very slow pace, and they like hang out in the countryside and whatever, and it's fine. And then at some point they go to the beach, and their girls are getting hit on by other guys, and the guy, the main boy isn't there because he was setting up a thing. And then he sees that the girls are getting hit on, but only one at a time. So he goes over to the convenience store girl clerk and he's like, hey, what's going on over here? And the guys are like, oh, we're terribly sorry. We thought this woman was single and we thought she was very attractive, and we were trying to invite her to our site over there. But yeah, I see you must be the boyfriend, and I must say, sir, you are very lucky. Well, have a nice day. We'll see ourselves back to our site. And he goes, wow, I thought I was going to have to beat them up. And then the best friend girl comes over and she's like, hey, I got hit on too, but like, where were you? And he was like, shrug, sorry, glad you're okay though. And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. So then convenience store clerk and the boy go play in the pool, where the best friend girl watches all their stuff and is sitting on the sand, and they're like, wow, should we feel bad about leaving her to not have any fun as she watches our stuff? No, it's fine. She said she would because she's being my wingman. Meanwhile, best friend girl is like, dang, he looked kinda cute though. L for me. And then they take the bus to go back to the home in the countryside, and convenience store clerk sleeps on his shoulder, and then best friend girl is jealous and she's like, I'm gonna do that too. And he's like, okay. And then and she does, and then he falls asleep, she wakes up, kisses him on the cheek, and then uh because she's been jealous all along. And so then there's a festival.
Telling this story is exhausting you,
I
clearly.
just realized I was like, I'm not gonna tell this whole thing, and then I said and now I'm telling the whole thing.
You better be telling the whole thing. I like how it had a beach episode that makes it a real anime.
Yes, not an anime yet, just a manga. So then, there's a festival happening, and then they gotta wear yukata, so they fight over that, but not really. And then, whew, okay, they home stretch. They all hang out, they have a good time, and the boy is like, I love convenience store girl clerk too much to not talk about our past. Like, you need to remember what has happened. So they find a nice spot, and he recounts the entire manga to her in like a, off screen for a second. So it only
I
takes
was
one
gonna say
second for the
if he
reader.
did if he did that, like if he just summarized the whole thing, we could have just read that summary.
Walls,
But I
no,
guess not.
no. So she starts freaking out because what the heck? That none of that can be real because my false memories must be real because oh my gosh. And she runs away, and the guy faints because he's been like up for like a day or so making sure everything goes according to plan, and he just passes out from overexertion. So then he goes, finds himself back at the house, and the best friend girl is there. And the best friend girl is like, "Yeah, convenience store clerk girl went back to her apartment, not in the countryside, and like we're in the countryside because you passed out, and I wanted to keep an eye on you." And he's like, "Okay." And then best friend girl attempts to seduce him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, clearly, as much as I approve of you two being a couple, it's like clearly bad for her mental health. And like, you should just be with me. And he's like, but best friend girl, that's silly because you wouldn't be happy. And she's like, yeah, I'd be fine with it. And he's like, no, you wouldn't be because I'm not who you really want. And she's like, no, you kind of are. And he's like, that's silly. You should stop trying to seduce me, and I'm gonna go back to her apartment. And she goes, yeah, you're right. So then he gets back to her apartment, and uh convenience store clerk girl is in like is like mentally unwell, like legitimately needs to be seeking professional medical treatment.
Because she found out that her false memories are false, and this boy is like trying to.
Yes, and
I guess it's
because
not. It's not gaslighting because he's. It's true, but like the same kind of thing.
well,
Reverse gaslighting.
so now that her false memories she knows are false, she can't handle the real information, so she's just kind of reverted to like just a not a person who cannot do much on their own. Like, she needs assistance eating and going to the bathroom and stuff like this. And her
Oh.
cousin, who is her legal guardian, is like, yo, or her grandma, I don't know, is like, hey, boy, I'm gonna call like a medical professional, and we're gonna get her to like a medical hospital where professionals can help her. And he's like, no, I'll do it with love. And then he does it for a while and realizes, oh my gosh, this is like an insane amount of work, and this is like kind of way more than I realized maybe I can take on. So then he calls his childhood best friend and is like, hey, when you took care of me when we were kids, was what was that like for you? Because I find myself in a situation like this now. And she was like, yeah, it was kind of rough, but it was worth it. And he's like, cool. Thank you for encouraging me. And she's like, you're welcome. And then he goes to take care of convenience store clerk girl again. And then he like says her name or his own name. He says, I love you. And then she is like, wakes up, quote unquote. And she's like, you said you love me. And he's like, oh my gosh, you can talk. And she's like, wow, I love you too. And he goes, I guess you don't need medical professional help anymore. That's great. The power of love did cure you.
The end?
Yeah, it's still an ongoing series. And that's where we are as of right now. And it was the most baloney thing I have ever read. I felt like I was on drugs reading this, and but I couldn't stop. I couldn't look away because it was just so wild, and I was like, surely it can't keep getting this wild forever. And then it just got into territory where I was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And now I've recounted all
By
of it.
by wild, do you mean like plot twists and developments, or do you mean like
It
this is gross and dumb and I don't understand how it is getting grosser and dumber?
both. Yes. Cause like cause initially, right, you're like, okay, childhood friend rejected him, but then realized she does have feelings for him, but realized she would be getting in the way. And he was like, okay, that's an interesting setup right there. And then like the stalker shows up, who is drawn horrifically, like in a
Mm-hmm.
good, like is drawn well, but is really scary compared to the rest of the manga, which is like very light and cheerful. Except for when it isn't, because it gets into like real mental health issues, but then brushes them off. Literally, within the first chapter, the guy is thinking of suicide, and
Yeah.
a girl says, haha, you saved me. Ah, that was super cool of you. And then he's like, I'm cured. I'm cured. And I was like, that, what do you mean? What do you mean? But that's a, like, we can look past this, but no, it was the first red flag, and I was naive, and I went and I kept reading anyway, but I should have stopped.
Yeah, that really sounds not good and dumb.
Yeah, yeah, it
I'm not
is.
sure what the like what even the moral
So here's my
obviously okay, the story's not over, whatever. I'm not
no,
sure
no,
what that's trying to say.
fuck that. It no, it's totally not over, but who cares? This is I can't imagine that this is anything more than an author's like insert, like self-fiction power trip esque thing. Like at the beach episode, right, when they're swimming, the girl is like, wow, you're so muscular. And he's like, yeah, I like to work out. And you've never seen that being a topic discussed before. He
Mhm.
just has a six pack because, well, of course he does. And there's no rhyme or reason for it, but like, we'll just throw in this one cutaway sentence for it, and and that'll explain it, and then it's fine. But like, he out of nowhere just like takes on this full grown man, various old men. I forgot to say, she went in the countryside, she went to work in the countryside, and then was getting robbed again. And the boy went and saved her again. It can't be any. I would.
It sounds like fan fiction a 13-year-old would write.
Yes. And to an extent, those have their place. And admittedly, I did not look up the author, the mangaka, if you will, because it was 4 a.m.
Mhm.
So maybe the author is like an 18-year-old boy and is like, this is what I would do, and but
I guess
it's
I was
just so
imagining
wild.
more a 15-year-old girl who would want that,
Maybe it's a
dark edgy
girl.
boy.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Well, okay,
It just it's
he's dark and
yeah.
edgy in the first chapter, and then he's just a normal kid without a filter. like the amount of setup that they do with all these like harsh, serious tones, and then just drop them, and then bring them back. Like you get so much whiplash from it. It reminds me of, and this is where the like those creepy pastas of Jeff the Killer, or like uh even the book Triggered, if you will, about this, you know, college student who's like a strong, rough and tumble guy, and he's gonna save the college because terrorists are attacking or whatever. Like, that's the vibes I got. Um, to its credit, I couldn't stop reading, and I think that's the scariest part of all.
I'm not entirely sure
Yeah.
how to respond to all of that. Um, I guess I can ask what about it made you feel like you had to keep reading until 4? Was the art and the page-to-page storytelling good enough that you kept going?
No.
What was enrapturing about it? Because obviously, say what you will about the narrative, it was enrapturing.
Yeah, I guess it was the narrative. It was just so buck wild, and I don't think I've watched videos on various creepy pastas and whatever, but I don't think I've ever really encountered myself. Like even Firewatch, right? That you said like, oh, everyone agrees they hate
Yes.
it. From Markiplier's Let's Play from 10 years ago or whatever, like, grain of salt. But, like, I thought it was fine. Was it the best thing ever? No. But, like, I don't know, it was engaging enough. There was, like, intrigue and whatever. I don't know. But this was just, like, I think this was just the first time where I encountered something so, like, juvenile in a way, is how I'm gonna put it. That I just like I just had to keep because and I think maybe because I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt, right? Of like, okay, it's a rom-com between, again, as I've said, this new girl and the childhood friend, but she rejects him, but then realizes she likes him, and I was like, okay, that could make for an interesting little premise because I don't know that if it's a newer take on romance, perhaps. I'm sure it's not. And then they started introducing like the third girl, right? And I was like, well, no, but clearly, nothing's was going to happen there. That she's just here to be a wingman, and then she
Well, no,
wasn't.
it becomes a love triangle.
And then it becomes a love triangle, and then it becomes a
Yeah.
love square, and then if you include the
Totally.
boy himself, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And memory erasing
and
and,
memory
you know,
erasing, and
you know.
it just had so much stuff, and I was clearly, we're gonna handle this well,
Mhm.
and then it didn't,
Okay.
and then I
Can
yeah.
can I tell you the story of this entire thing reminded me of a story. I'm going to call it the western equivalent
Okay,
of
please
this
do.
tale. Okay. This is not a book I read. This is a book that one of our friends read, and she hated it so much that she literally stood and ranted the summary to me for 20 minutes.
Kind of
And
like
I was standing mouth agape, like, what on earth? Like, people. I will let you come to a conclusion, Eric,
okay,
on
okay,
how you feel about this story. All right, so it's a book. It's called 1,000 Boy Kisses, or something like that.
okay,
Again, I did not read it. I'm now telling you a summary of a summary I heard.
right.
All right, there's two next door neighbors. Young boy, young girl, 5 years old. Oh my god, they're besties. So cute. They grow up a little. Oh, maybe they're like 12 now or something. Oh, tee hee hee, now they're dating because they're like 12, but it's just cute little, like, we're gonna go in the treehouse and draw color pictures or something and maybe hold hands. Okay, so now, a couple years past, they're like 14 or something. I don't know. So now they're like dating for realsies. So they promise each other, they're like, hey, I promise I'm never gonna kiss anybody else but you. We're gonna be together forever and ever and ever. And they're like, yes, okay, amazing. So they're thriving, they're vibing, they're chilling. They're so in love. Boy's father comes home. Hello, son, we must move back to Europe because of job. Um, and the detail that got me is he told him this the night before they were packing up to leave because they knew that he would be upset and would try to fight his parents. And so they tell him and then leave the next day.
Dang.
No, I'm just like, that is so stupidly unreal, like impossible, legitimately impossible,
Yeah.
and would not happen.
Hey,
But
Dad,
that's
where's
just
the
clearly
couch?
something that's clearly something this author thought was like, oh, it'll be more dramatic, or oh, I don't want to write the 3 chapters where the characters need to deal with like saying goodbye, but then whatever. It's more dramatic if he's gone the next day. I'm just like, that is impossibly stupid. Anyway, I'm gonna leave my commentary till the end, guys. Okay, so boy moves away to Europe. Oh no, so sad. They don't sell the house, so the couch is still there actually. So he's gone. Oh no, so sad. And they stay in touch, and they're writing the letters, and they're doing long distance. And then it cuts forward a couple years, so now they're like on like 17 or 18, I don't know. The girl stopped responding to the boy. He's moving back to the United Americas. He's moving back to his old house. But this girl, who he was, best friends with as a kid and was dating, stopped answering him. She just totally ghosted him for years. So, like, they're not together anymore, obviously. But now he's moving back and he's going to be neighbors with her again. So it's like weird and awkward. They're going to the same school again, but they like won't talk to each other. And like they won't just go say, "Hi, I'm back," or talk about what happened or any of it. It's just been a couple years and I guess that they moved on. Obviously, this entire thing is incredibly stupid and you could solve the problems by talking, but whatever. Again, I'm telling a summary of a summary. Maybe the book explains how that happened. So then they're like at a party and the girl sees the guy like sitting on a couch with his arm around another girl, and she gets all upset because she's like, wow, I guess he didn't keep his promise and he is dating someone else. So they then finally have that conversation where they need to discuss what happened, and he's like, no, I'm not dating other girl, like, yeah, I am interested, but like, no, I have not kissed her yet. And she's like, good, because then we had a promise and you would have broken the promise, whatever. So it turns out the big twisty twist, she stopped responding to him via their letters because she has terminal cancer and is dying.
Okay.
So she didn't want to have to like tell him over letter and have him be sad. And I guess her logic is that if she ghosted him and they broke up and then she died, that he would be less sad about her death.
I mean,
So he's like, oh my god, that is so sad. I will love you forever and ever again. And so then they are in love. And then she dies because she had terminal cancer. And then the boy is all sad. And then he goes to college and he's like trying to move on and live his best life. And then he has a dream and he's like standing in front of her in a dream and like in heaven, and she's like, I love you so much forever. And he's like, I love you forever too, but like I have to move, like go on with my life. And she's like, that's the good part, silly, is you don't have to. You just died in a car crash. And he's like, oh my god, I totally did. And she's like, yeah, and you never kissed anyone but me. So we both kept our promises and we can live happily ever after in heaven together. And he's like, yes, that's beautiful. And then they skip off to heaven. The end.
hey, you know what? You were like, here's a Western equivalent. It's pretty close in terms of
So
feeling.
let me get your initial reactions to this story.
Bro, that's wild. That's insane. Like,
It's disturbing
it,
and gross.
it, it
It's
yeah.
better to have both died young than it is for a teenage relationship to have ended. Like
um,
that is the moral of the
n-
story. Oh, it's a
uh,
happy ending because he died instead of having to move on from her dying, and it's a happy ending that like they both died instead of their high school crush like not working out. Like and this is like it's it's a romance book. It's like for teenage girls, right? Like
that's insane.
it's gross. It is horrible. And again,
But
our mutual friend who was telling me the story is like, I read the whole thing, and it just kept getting worse, and it made me so angry. This is literally a damaging story to tell people.
yeah,
Sorry, I've been sitting on that for not to like tell
no,
on the
that's
podcast, but just like the story to tell for a while, and I'm
yeah.
curious. And your story reminded me, so I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
What are
yeah,
your
no,
thoughts? Just because I'm so angry.
I would agree. I think I never want to be too harsh, right? Everyone has their own unique lives, and I'm sure it makes sense to some people, and some people it's their favorite things, and they cherish whatever these stories or items or whatever are. But I think damaging is a good way to describe both of these. Like, and it's such a it I I think the thing that's extra gross, I suppose, is like the especially like the story you told, right? Like I can't I'm not a teenager anymore. I used to be one though. And not that it ever got that extreme, but like that's kind of the mindset I was in, at least, right? Of like, I'm gonna date the girl in high school, and we're gonna get married, and it's gonna be cool, and we're gonna always hang out, and you'll never see anyone else, and they'll be fine. And that didn't happen, and that's fine. But like, I, I, my point, I think teens especially are primed to be in a mindset like that. And so then to get something that gross just reinforces that further, and then as the new word of the day, damages um those people that read it.
Yeah, like I had the same mindset as you. And, when that didn't work out, oh, that's very, very upsetting. But this was not, a Wattpad fan fiction. This is a published novel by an adult
Right.
author.
Yeah.
I know a couple people who married their high school sweethearts. Like it
Right.
happens. It obviously happens. For most people, it doesn't happen. And we also know a couple people who didn't date in high school. I think all three of those categories of people, the people who thought that way and then went through a bad breakup, the people who did marry their high school sweethearts, the people who didn't date when they were teenagers, I think all three categories of those people would know that it is a bad moral to say that death is preferable than breaking up with your high school girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. It's it I, um one of the I think maybe part of the thing that enraptured me about mine that I just spent however long recounting, I'm so sorry, is
45 minutes. Yeah.
oh no.
For an hour and 20 minutes into this episode, Eric.
Oh no. Is that like I think I was in this like there's no way this is like real. Right? Like this isn't published by a company to sell to like this it's but it
Like yours
was.
read more like a fan, not a fan, like a web comic, like self-published. Someone drew this on DeviantArt, right? Like
Right.
that's how you felt yours was, as opposed to like it
Yeah.
was published in a manga book that you can buy in a bookstore.
Yeah. I mean, I did read it online.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was just like, it, like, there's no way that it's real. But it
Yeah, but the
is.
one I just okay, and again, I summarized a summary.
Sure,
So,
sure. But even
the biggest fan in the world of the book's gonna be like, you're missing out on the nuance of X, Y, and Z, and you got this detail wrong. I don't care.
yeah.
If I'm right in the vague, brushes of the strokes of the story, then it's still disgusting.
Yeah, even if you're wrong about 90% of it, but that last 10% is still true of like, no, it's fine, you're dead now. It's still,
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah, it's painful. So, and I swear I'm not going to like try to get like gross with this, but a lot of people compare, I'm going to say, melodramatic love stories of that caliber, um, that teenage girls consume things like that the way that teenage males consume like pornography. That is just their equivalent to that kind of thing. And I think that something like this very much falls into that category, and that it is in fact very damaging. I think when you go onto Wattpad and you read fan fictions where someone's like, I'm in love with, let's say Jeff the Killer again, because you brought that up earlier. I'm in love with this person, and then you just write out your power trip love fantasy from the female perspective about the serial killer and how you're like taming him and making him nice, or maybe he's making you into a serial killer. Like that kind of thing is the female equivalent of the thing I mentioned earlier that I'm not going to say more than once in an episode. Um, and I've always found that to be moderately upsetting slash disturbing because of how it's sort of accepted or celebrated. Like, it's one thing to learn how to write and find out that you like writing and storytelling because you're doing fan fictions. It's another to be like, wow, this emotionally overwrought story that you made with yourself as a main insert character where you're falling in love with a bad boy is good and you should do this. Because, like, no, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't, and you definitely shouldn't put it out on the internet, and you definitely shouldn't, like, tie it to your real identity. And maybe don't.
And maybe down. Well, but there isn't a thing, right, of like, yeah, maybe someone just wants to write a thing, and and this is just where it starts, and they learn and they get better and stuff. But then it like, there's just such a pressure to like publish everything, and like uh, you that you can't like write for your own self or sake, like you know you I don't know,
Eric, are you familiar with the term Mary Sue?
I have heard the term Mary Sue as well as Gary Stew.
Do you know where it originates?
A teenage girl put herself named Mary Sue, I think, in a Star Trek fanfic, and everyone loved her, and she could do no
You
wrong.
did know. I was surprised. I didn't think you'd actually know that.
I've watched a video.
Yeah, so Lady writes Star Trek fan fiction published in a Star Trek fan magazine with a new character named Mary Sue, who is an obvious insert character, and all the characters love her and she can do no wrong. And that was back before the internet. That was back when you had to have your stories published in a Star Trek fan magazine.
Hmm.
And the idea that every single person has access to, I'll just keep saying Wattpad, has access to Wattpad to publish their stories, and every single person on any given whim can write whatever they want and upload it to the internet where it's there forever, tied to a username that can probably be tracked to like different usernames that they'll use for the rest of their lives and can be tracked to their real person, is like dangerous. Not good.
I mean, yes, but I would, to an extent, you could also just make this on like anything with the internet.
I just mean like imagine if you were imagine if, something you wrote when you were 13 became as ubiquitous as the term Mary Sue, and
Oh,
literally like a literary term, a word, I'll say a new word, a new term came into existence to describe bad writing, and it was based on you when you were a teenager.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
right? Like, that's not cool. And the way to prevent that is to not do it.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I have
Like,
some
I,
writings I have, and they'll never see the light of day.
yeah. And, like, there's a difference between, like, confidence issues. Like, I don't want to share my story with people. And the opposite, which is publishing my immortal for the world to see.
Whoa, whoa. You're not dissing my immortal now, are you?
I am mad dissing my immortal.
The song?
No, the Harry Potter fan fiction.
Oh, okay, carry on.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what the moral is. I think we talked a couple episodes ago about how when someone's writing a story and people are like, this story is dangerous, that the go-to response to that is like, stories are stories, and stories can be about flawed people, and in real life, there are stories without happy endings. And so, just because someone might get the wrong idea from a story and think of a wrong moral, going back to like American Psycho, someone might come away with the wrong moral does not mean that the work is dangerous, because the work is made for adults to consume and think about it critically and come to a conclusion that, like, actually, the main character in this horror story is the bad guy. And so that there's no such thing as dangerous literature. There's only people who are not in the right uh, state of mind to read it. And I guess that I don't think this book's dangerous, but I do think it's gross because it is marketed toward the teenagers and children to whom it would most damage if they read it.
Hmm.
And I think it's stupid.
Yeah, right. If I were a parent and my kid was like, Papa, look at these two books I found, and presented me like that book that you described in the book I described, I'd be like, and tell me, what did you think? Could you read it critically? If they could, amazing. If they were like, yeah, it
Yeah.
was kind of gross and I don't really like it, but I just couldn't look away, I'd be like, I've been there. Um,
Literally, because you read it.
yes.
Like, think, like, Romeo and Juliet, right? Love story, two
Oh,
teenagers, they kill themselves over the lack of the love, right? They both, technically, everyone knows the story, right? One of them thinks the other's dead, so kills himself, then the other wakes up and then sees the other one actually died and they kill themselves too. Nobody thinks that that's, like, romantic. It's called the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. Never was there a tale of so woe than that of Juliet and her Romeo, right? Like, it's not supposed to be, oh my god, they were so in love they died. It was like, no, they're stupid, and the world around them, the society around them is what led them to die because it wouldn't let them be together. So they didn't make the right choice, but also it's not their fault. It's like society's fault, right? Like, that's the moral of Romeo and Juliet, which we see as high art. It is Shakespeare. It is one of the greatest stories ever told. This is not that. This is just so clearly not that.
yeah. Yeah. I, you know, author intention matters so much, right? Because they even say it in Romeo and Juliet, like before and after the play, of like, hey, this is a tragedy. We're gonna be sad about it. We're gonna enjoy the story, but we're gonna be sad about it.
And then Taylor Swift comes along and calls it a love story because she's dumb.
I can't believe you say that about your idol. You're progressing.
It's just factually accurate that Romeo and Juliet is not
I mean,
supposed to be a love story.
I would. I, I guess if you were to categorize it, right, it's like a romance tragedy.
Yeah.
I, 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 I it's not a love story, but that's not the main takeaway. Is it the main takeaway? No. Their love just kind of supersedes a lot of other things. Who really remembers? Ask Juliet asking why Romeo is a Romeo.
I think we need to try to
Slow.
come up with a moral to this episode, otherwise we're hypocrites. So what's the moral here,
Um,
Eric?
Listen, if you see a YouTube short at, 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and it's recommending you a book, a novel, a poem, a manga, that instead of going online to read said piece of work, you should realize, hey, it's like late at night and I have things to do tomorrow. So let me not read this. Let me sleep instead and reflect, do I want to read such a thing? And if your curiosity is still there in the morning, you're like, yeah, I guess I'll make time for that at some point.
So the moral of the story is get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a moral you want to add on?
I think that we started this episode talking about junk food, and while we both had very strong opinions on it, it really turns into just knowing what your given tastes are and understanding that other people might disagree with you sometimes. And I think we then transitioned into talking about the junk food of literature.
Yeah.
Something that, while is not good, you still read all of. And that while we were heavily judging, we should be aware that we have different tastes of the flavors of these kind of things, and that there are other people who enjoy them.
Yeah.
And that while we might say, these are bad and dumb, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't exist. And that doesn't mean, to somebody else, that manga you read is how I feel about the medicine. I can't understand how you like the taste of red medicine, but you still do. We can't understand why someone would like that manga, but there's someone else out there who might like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the moral.
That's the moral. I think it just for myself, I learned something new about myself that, I am kind of into trash. And I knew that from food, but, it extended to other parts of my life I didn't think it would. I think if I watched reality TV, I might enjoy it.
Well, this is episode 3 of you being underneath the dumpster, so I would hope that at this point you like trash.
It's starting to smell and I'm not I'm not being able to ignore it anymore.
But yeah, but now you like it. You're realizing it's a good scent.
I don't know, man. I don't know. This manga's down here with me. It
Well,
makes it
yes, because
extra stinky.
someone threw it in the trash.
Well, I hope everyone that listened enjoyed this. If you want to hear more episodes of me recounting mangas and stories, I think I could do that for you guys. But if you hated it, um, that's fine too.
If you guys want more videos where Eric is recounting manga and giving his opinion, talking about his life, talking about maybe some more of those horror stories that I was alluding to earlier, then you should watch his YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel called, Eric?
Devin, why are you doing this to me? Devin,
Oh
why?
wait, you still haven't set it up? That's crazy. You guys should write in emails and leave comments
Devin,
that say, "Hey Eric, get your YouTube channel going. We really want to hear you review manga and talk about horror stories."
Devin,
Love you, Eric.
I wouldn't. Those two things don't coexist on the same channel. Why
Oh,
would
they
you do
could.
this?
You don't think you could title a video "The Scariest Manga I've Ever Read"? Recount the exact story you just told me, and end it with "This is disgusting and gross. This is the scariest, worst thing I've ever read."
That's so different from. I mean, like,
The point is, you need
I
to make
thought
your
it had.
YouTube
I
channel,
thought it
Eric.
had been too long. Every time I get a feeling, it happens.
A feeling that I'm gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just saying. People should remind you to get it going.
Listen, maybe on my month-long trip, uh, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you have a month-long trip across the country coming up, right? Yeah, well, maybe we can talk about that next time on Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town.
I think this is one of the craziest episodes.
This is
I,
definitely one of the craziest episodes, and we also didn't do a mail like a pause, so I think you have to play a double length Legrand chase at the end of the episode to make up for it.
I don't know if people want that.
Oh,
Maybe.
they do, right, guys?
Well,
See, they said yes. It's like Dora the Explorer. Anyway, see you later, guys. Bye.
bye. Enjoy your days.